I love learning. So I wanted to learn how to shoot everything myself, and then how to edit everything myself, and then how to write everything myself, and then how to edit the music all myself, and how to add the sound effects all myself. So I did everything myself. And then at a certain point, you're like, this can only take me so far, because how can one person do all of this? And why would I want to do it all by myself? So then being able to be like, you're amazing at making music. Would you want to make some music for this? Absolutely. I love what you're doing. Awesome. Let's do it together. You're amazing at doing visual effects. Would you like to do this together? Absolutely. And then all of a sudden you're just working with amazing people, and then you all get to learn from each other. Then you get to really be in tune and channel something higher together.
Jordan Taylor Wright is a filmmaker, photographer, and the founder of the production company Taylor Cut Films. He creates beautiful and moving films for his clients, an audience of more than 500,000 Instagram followers. Jordan unpacks how he broke into filmmaking and got his first big breaks, the power of positive thinking, and how to transform your life from within. This episode takes a very quick and very unexpected turn towards the metaphysical. Not a completely unwelcome one, as I'd consider myself an aspiring meditator, but at heart, I'm still a skeptic. Towards the end of our conversation, I might poke and otherwise prod at some of Jordan's ideas to fully understand his worldview, but rest assured, we hug it out after this episode was finished recording. I hope you guys find our conversation productive. Here's a new thing that I'm going to start doing on this podcast, answering your questions. I get a lot of emails from listeners asking for advice about their specific struggles, things that they're trying to overcome, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to respond to every single one. So what I've decided to do is start playing your questions on the air and hashing it out with my guests to figure out and get to the bottom of your problems. So here's what I'm thinking. If you record a video, say from your phone, nice and simple, everybody knows how to do that. You can include your face or not. That's totally up to you. The audio is most important here. But send that video to hello@mattdiavella.com. And feel free to get specifics about your journey and your craft. And what I'll do is choose a couple that I think my guests on that show that day will be most qualified to help me answer these questions. So you're not only going to be getting advice from me, but you're also going to be getting advice from some amazing individuals that I have lined up to come on the show this year. All I ask is that you keep these clips to under 2 minutes, and otherwise you won't be censored by me. So feel free to elaborate on your questions, and I'm looking forward to getting those in. Again, that's hello@mattdiavella.com. Send it on over, and we'll get going. Do you enjoy this podcast? Has it helped you on your journey? If so, I've got a small favor to ask. Go to iTunes and leave a quick rating. Ratings give me street cred, and right now I need all the street cred that I can get. No, but really, they get the word out for the show. Other people see it, and it adds some validity to the show. And as I'm building this from the ground up, it'd be great to get your guys' support in helping to build this thing. And with all that said, what do you say we get to the podcast? This is Jordan Taylor Wright. You're listening to The Ground Up Show, a podcast that inspires creatives to make meaningful content and pursue their passions. My name's Matt Diavella, and I'm a filmmaker best known for the Netflix documentary Minimalism. And I'm sitting down with creators to talk about their process, the lessons they've learned, and how to make an impact. You ever shoot a video and then forget to hit record?
One time.
One time? What happened?
I think I fibbed and said that it accidentally got deleted.
Oh, that's genius. I didn't... Yeah.
It's more maniacal than genius, but yes.
I mean, honestly, like that is like... It's heartbreaking, though, for you when you go back to it and you're like looking at the numbers and you're like, oh, shit. Oh, fuck. No.
Just means it wasn't meant to be.
Just wasn't meant to be.
It was a learning lesson.
Yeah. I didn't have the opportunity to do that with mine because I was shooting like a reality show for E!
Oh, yeah.
And I wasn't the editor. So I'm
sure it taught you something.
Oh, my God. Absolutely.
Just a double checker.
Just like gut wrenching. And just realizing I realized in the moment that I didn't get it. and I didn't say anything because it's a reality show, and it was as much as they kind of scripted it and staged it. It also there were moments that could only be taken once, and that was one of those moments. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm never going to work with these guys again.
Maybe you weren't meant to.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're here.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the
course.
podcast.
Yeah,
Excited.
happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you here. For people who may not have heard of your work, you want to give me a little bit of background, especially about what you've been up to lately?
Sure. My name is Jordan Taylor Wright. I own a production company called Taylor Cut Films, and I guess at this current point of time, we are creating short films, commercials, TV shows, just original content that we really enjoy making. And I guess a brief background about me: I started, I guess, dabbling in photography and videography when I was in high school. Took a production class when I was a freshman, and realized that I loved the medium of storytelling in general, but then really resonated with filmmaking. Growing up watching Disney movies and things of that nature, it was kind of my calling. It's like, oh, this is able to emotionally affect me in such a dramatic and positive way, and it kind of shaped the way I saw the world. So then I knew that's what I wanted to do at a really young age, which was a blessing for sure, because that kind of steered my heart in the direction of where I am today. And then kind of fulfilled that, was a film major in school. And then when I graduated, I was working at the Food Network, shooting for Man vs. Food and different like food companies like that. And then that wasn't creatively satisfying me as much as I enjoyed working that kind of like 9 to 5, job. On the weekends, I realized that music kind of what drove me visually the most. So when I would hear a song, I would picture visuals, like I'm sure most people do, and which I'm almost positive what musical artists do as well, is when they're making a song, they're trying to convey whatever emotion story they're trying to tell. And I just really resonated with that. So on the weekend, I would go to different concert venues and look up different artists that I thought were amazing and kind of up and coming. And I would just make friends with bouncers, go into the concert hall, and then I would film the show, go up to the manager at the end and say, hey, I'm gonna make a really cool recap of the concert, and if you want to use it, you can. You don't have to pay me at all, just if you don't mind saying Taylor Cut Films made it. And I realized at a young age that I wanted to disassociate myself as Jordan from my work, because it wasn't about me. It wasn't about the ego. It was like I wanted to create, that's why I came up with Taylor Cut Films. I just wanted to create like an entity or a place where it's like I can create my content that had nothing to do with me, that had to do with kind of the soul or the message that was going along with it. And luckily it caught the eye of some artists that really liked the music, and I ended up touring with this artist named Chris Cab, who was signed to Pharrell at the time. He toured and opened for T-Pain and Gym Class Heroes. It was the first tour. I ended up quitting my job working at the Food Network. I just knew that excited me more, and I wanted to do that, so I loved it and jumped at the first opportunity I got to kind of do that. And then that led to me making show recap videos, and ended up leading to catching the attention of a producer in LA who asked me to film Usher, who was in town in New York starring in an off-Broadway show. I filmed him for 4 days, and when you connect with someone or you vibe with someone, you feel it right away. And we kind of just really vibed at that point in time, and loved his personality. He loved my personality. Of course, I loved his artistic approach on everything. He's an amazing artist, and he really valued my outlook as well. And we just connected, and literally after the 4 days, he was like, what are you doing tomorrow? Do you want to come to Vegas to do the Billboard Awards? And I was like, I'd love to. And then he was like, what are you doing after that? We got London, we have an Amex on stage thing. I'm like, I'd love to do that. And then that's actually fun. I just realized that because now I create all the content for Amex Platinum as well. So it's a nice little
full circle.
Yeah, full circle. So I toured with him for 3 years and went from doing BTS to doing, his tour content, to his social media, to photos, to album artwork, to like whatever was needed. And just learning how to just open up my mind, creativity, and also just following my heart, and just realizing that anything that resonated with my heart, like learning that regardless of what outsiders may think of what I'm creating, that just as long as you follow what you love, it'll end up leading to an abundance or success. And that's kind of how I'm here today, having this amazing conversation with you in this room.
Yeah, it's amazing how those opportunities are so fleeting, and to drop one of those paths to pursue another is a huge thing. And I'm sure it's something that it's not an easy decision, because especially a lot of those sounded guaranteed, like, hey, this is a good living.
I think the older you get, or just the more experience you get, or the more you trust yourself, the more you realize that there is only one path. And the one path is your heart and what you love, and you may veer from the path every once in a while, and like you forgetting to hit record on something, the universe might be like, no, and put you back onto the path that you're meant to be. But yeah, I to me, it wasn't ever like, oh, once you start operating from your brain more than your heart, it's usually when you become less successful, or you start veering away from what your true calling is, which is always trust your gut or your heart more so, and just whatever you really love, and that kind of leads you in the direction of where you're supposed to be. And it's, in today's day and age, especially with social media, it's very difficult to, I guess, you start trying to obtain likes, or you try to obtain success in a monetary value and a very superficial value. And as long as you can allow yourself to realize that the reason why you have followers is because you followed your heart in the first place, or the reason why you have success is because you followed your heart in the first place, and allow that to be kind of your navigator, then life becomes way easier. I've luckily, I meditate off and down. I live in a state of meditation. I teach meditation, and learning how to separate yourself from your thoughts, and just being able to align yourself to just what feels right and observe, then you can operate at a much higher frequency, and then you can be able to make you're not even making decisions at that point. You're just observing you manifesting your life, because you're just living from a space of love, and then it kind of just puts you in the right opportunities. There's no way I would have known I would have been sitting here talking with you a week ago, even if I tried to plan it. It just it aligns, and every opportunity that kind of happens, just like the art of saying yes, or the art of being. It's just things are presented into your life for a reason. So trust that, and trust if it feels good. If it feels good, then usually say yes, regardless of how scary or how off-putting it may be. Even if it's not currently aligned with your life, maybe there's a reason why it's happening, or there's always a reason why it's happening. So
yeah, everybody tries to plan ahead for the future. If you've got a business, you create a business plan. If you're starting a podcast, you're trying to figure out, okay, where is this going to go in 10 episodes, 15 episodes? They try to create a structure because it provides some sense of certainty.
Yeah.
But as we both know, you have no idea what opportunity is going to come a year from now, let alone 2 weeks from now.
It's also then planning or living to future forward is just removing all the amazing opportunities that may be there in the future. So if I said right now, like a year from now, I'm going to be living in Bali shooting a movie, even though you really want to do that, you're now taking all the infinite possibilities that could exist from a year from now and isolating it to one thing. And we are ever changing. We are ever growing, and same with the universe, and same with everyone else in it. So the ability to not be too past, because if you think about, there's a saying, if you think about the past, if you live in the past, you're going to be in a state of depression. If you think about the future, you're going to live in a state of anxiety. If you live in the now, you're going to be happy. But it's more so the concept of time in general. The past is a story we tell ourselves. It's not there. If we continue to live in the past and think about it, then that's what we're bringing into the now. And then if we try to think about the future, we're just projecting a possibility of what we wish to happen. So allowing yourself to know that all there is now, and then living in that now, and learning how to place yourself in that now, and then just be the observer of now, and not try to make any decisions, because we can't control anything. It's very humbling, and you have to allow yourself to remove your ego and just say, hey, I am the observer of this life, which is a blessing, and I get to feel everything that's in it. And there's a higher being, and there's a higher purpose for me being here. As long as I'm operating from a heart space of love, then everything will then align me in that. And everything good that's ever happened in my life has come from my surrender of my ego, of saying, hey, me as Jordan, I don't know anything. I can observe everything, and then I can take it in and feel it and process it and put it into my heart, and know that from these experiences, this isn't what makes me feel good, and this is what makes me feel good. But that's all it is just allowing that to be experiences and feelings. And then next time you're in a situation, you can be like, ooh, this feels like that bad situation that I was in. Now I know that, my heart should take me this way. And then just operating from that. And it's awesome, because then there's infinite opportunities that come from that. And it's always good. So
Yeah, so my expectations heading into this interview were that it was going to be pretty tightly confined to filmmaking and that journey. I didn't know about this journey of your life, and I'm really curious about it.
Sure.
I've had a similar one myself. It's not... I came across The Power of Now, like a lot of people, and it got me to think more deeply about living in the moment, and just like you said, about kind of hoping to, trying to, or not trying to, if you're meditating, to let go of the past and let go of the future. When did that journey start for you? When did you first start to think about this?
I think so. I studied I studied psychology in school as well as film, and I wanted to be a psychologist because and to me, the process of filmmaking, whether the filmmaker is cognizant or not of it, is the process of is psychology. It's you're working out your thoughts in your own brain, and you have this vision of what's happening, and now you're putting it into a medium. The same with like writing, or the same with art. So I think I've always been very aware of my thoughts, and then I studied it. So I've always been like the observer of my thoughts, and always have understood. I've always asked so many questions. Is like, I'm sad. Why am I sad? Oh, I'm sad because my dad said something mean to me. Or why did he say something mean to me? Oh, because his dad didn't love him fully. Oh, why didn't his dad love him fully? Oh, because his dad. And then you're able to really get to the root of it. And then you go, well, these feelings have nothing to do with me. And your feelings at this exact moment in time are not the same feelings 2 minutes ago, and they're not the same feelings that are going to be 2 minutes from now. So the art of meditating, or the art of living in the now, is for me, what helps is visualizing. So I almost, when I start to feel like a rush of emotions and I realize that my thoughts are cloudy, I can visualize it as like sitting at the edge of a bank of a river, and then as the river is going past, those are my thoughts, and I can observe my thoughts going past, and then you can identify them. You could be like, well, that's sadness, that's anxiety, that's anger, and then you can say, but why? And then you can realize the more in tune you become with yourself, and it's the combination of your mind, body, and spirit, like your body as well. Whatever we're not processing in our mind, we're manifesting in our body. So if your right calf is sore, being like, why is my right calf sore? Your right side has to do with your masculinity. Your left side has to do with your femininity. Your calves are your second heart. So if your right calf is sore, maybe you're dealing something with your father, or you're doing something with your masculinity that you haven't processed yet, and allowing yourself to foam roll it, or be in tune, or just allow yourself to be the master of yourself, and then step away from your thoughts. And the more you practice that, like you said, it is a practice. So like the practice of meditation is learning how to relax everything. So when you're sitting still, someone can be like, okay, relax, but then you're thinking about relaxing. So how do you remove the thought process behind that? So say you're sitting there, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, relax my knees. Now relax my calves. Now relax my shins. And all of a sudden you can relax everything, but then you can start to feel where you're holding tension, and feel why you're holding tension there. And then that constant practice and knowing why you're thinking certain things allows you to kind of be more in tune with all of that. And to answer, I guess, your bigger question of when that kind of started, I mean, I think I went more down this spiritual journey, I'd say like a month and a half ago, because my mom's Jewish, my dad's Catholic. They divorced at 10. My mom was bar mitzvahed. My mom tried to raise me Jewish because that's how she was brought up. My dad tried to then raise me Catholic when I was with him. And instinctively, I was like, I don't believe in God. I don't want to deal with any of this. I just, whatever. And then I think about like a month and a half ago or more, I started to realize that, not that I necessarily believe in a specific God, but I believe that we are all part of a higher consciousness as humans, and we are all connected by our higher consciousness, that we actually all share the same consciousness, that we are like hive animals, like dolphins. Dolphins all are telepathic. They all share one collective consciousness. They operate on the fifth dimension. We operate on the third or fourth dimension, depending how in tune you are. But allowing yourself to realize that all these daily coincidences that happen aren't coincidences. It's you actively manifesting it. So, sitting here and being like, oh, we're both from Jersey, you'd be like, oh, that's funny. And then you could just go about your day, or you can be like, oh, well, maybe there's a reason why we're both from Jersey and we're both sitting here right now and we're both having this conversation. Maybe we both need to have this conversation right now at this point in time. And it's for our higher being. And it allows us after this conversation to be like, maybe I'll implement some of the things that we're talking about, and that'll allow me to be the greater purpose of who I am. But yeah, there's some phenomenal books like you were saying, or like the Celestine Prophecy, and there's some books that I've read that like really just touch on that, to allow humans to start to be aware that you are actively manifesting your own life. The words you say are you bringing into fruition. So if you're sitting here and you accidentally, like, something good happens in your life and you go, oh, that's crazy, that's insane. It's like, wait, why are you saying those words? What do those words mean? Crazy is, by definition, meaning that something is wrong with you. Insane is like the government or the society's way of saying that you are not in the right headspace. But it's like, why? So, like, learning to say things, or, like, instead of saying I'm trying to do this, saying I'm doing this, because you are, by the very means of you speaking it means you're doing it. So just being very cognizant of your thoughts and why you're saying certain things, it helps you really start to isolate the art of being, the art of just being aware of every second that's happening, like feeling the wind, just like, because why not? Why would you not want to be in the now always? And I understand it's like an active practice and it's difficult, especially in today's day and age with, like, social media and ADD, which is really nothing. It just means we're all, if you have ADD or ADHD, it means you're really hyper aware and hyper empathetic, and you can feel a lot of different things at once. But rather than giving someone medication or telling them that there's something wrong with them, allow them to be like, well, why don't you sit and you figure out what your creative outlet is? What makes you feel, what makes your heart feel? Listening to music, does that make you feel? Does writing your thoughts down, does that make you feel? Does speaking with people, so there's different ways to really intune yourself. And I'm hoping from this dialogue that we're having, or just dialogue that we have in general with each other, to allow ourselves to realize that we are all the same and we are all beautiful, and to not allow any labels to kind of dictate other than that. So, like, gender, you're born and all of a sudden you're like man, female, like from birth, pink, blue. It's like, what, why? We're human. That's all. We're creatures. We're equally as connected to the plants as we are with each other. We're 70% water. The earth is 70% water. That's just a random coincidence. Like, humans on the giant universal spectrum of how long we've been here in the cosmic universe, we've been here for like maybe a second on the cosmic calendar. Dinosaurs existed way longer than us, went extinct. Humans are going to be the fifth mass extinction if we continue to just drain all our resources and pretend that money drives everything. So, like, it's important, I think, now in today's time specifically to become in tune with that and be like, oh, maybe we should slow down and realize what we're focusing on, because it's really important.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there. One, like the labels thing, I think is a good conversation, and it's one of those ones that I grapple with, and conversations I've had on this podcast before, because there is an element to labeling, and you call it branding online, that's actually, it's positive and it's helpful to help push yourself forward. Because if I went to your website and you said that you're a filmmaker or photographer, that, okay, you know what I mean? It clicks in, okay, I know what they do. I know what to expect from this website. Like, if you just had some arbitrary name, it may be more challenging or more difficult to get that
At the same
across.
time, who are we doing it for? Like, we're trying to fit into boxes for who? So other people can understand? It's like, we were never meant to fit in boxes in the first place. Why do you think the dawn of the internet happened? Or why do you think the dawn of social media happened? And all these people are starting to realize that I am not one thing. If I want to write a cookbook, I can write a cookbook. If I want to be a fitness instructor, I could be a fitness instructor. If I'm a singer, I could be a singer. If I want to make YouTube videos and write a TV series, I can do the same. Like, I think we've been taught at a very young age that you're one thing in order for people to comprehend and process it. And I don't know why. Even, like, let's look at movies or acting. Someone plays one role and all of a sudden, as a society, we feel comfortable being like, that's the funny guy. But why? Like, I'm going to use Jonah Hill as an example. He is super versatile as an actor, and all of a sudden you see him in Superbad, you think he's one thing, and then you see him in Moneyball, he's another thing. You see him in Wolf of Wall Street, he's another thing. And that just goes to show, as like a larger concept, we are all everything. Literally, we are the air, we are the star. Like, the Big Bang happened, it exploded, created all of us, and we are continuing to expand from that. We are equally as much of the trees as the trees are us. That's the reason why they produce oxygen and we bring it. Like, it's all meant for a reason, do you know? And everything happens for a reason, and we're all connected for a reason. So the more we try to put things into boxes so our tiny human brains can comprehend it is super limiting. Like, we got to stop trying to understand everything. Ask big questions without trying to know the answers, because even if you receive the answers, know that you wouldn't understand them at that point in time. Just allow yourself to listen, allow yourself to observe. And the more you're able to surrender to that, the more vast and magical life becomes, because then you no longer feel like, oh, I need to understand that. You don't need to understand that. It's okay. You don't need to be one thing. You don't need anything. Want stuff, want to love, want to feel good, want to connect with other people. And if that's your driving force, then life becomes way more open. You could be a boy and a girl. You are a boy and a girl. We are equally masculine as we are feminine. I don't know when that ever started in society. Even if you look into the Roman Empire, it's like the Alexander the Great, or in Egypt, like these deities that had both masculine and feminine properties were worshipped. They were almost feared, because like, wait, I don't understand. How are they able to be in tune with both? It's because we are everything. And as scary as that may be to some people, it's beautiful at the same time. So I think the less labels, the less boxes, the less trying to fit into societal standards, the better. And it's starting to become like that. It's because there's a reason why the world is the way it is right now. There's a reason why Donald Trump is president. There's a reason, because we went from going, specifically in America, we went from going to having the first African American president in a country that had slavery not too long ago at all, like hundreds of years ago. Think of how long the earth has been here. Hundreds of years ago, we had slaves, human slaves, and then he became president. And then all of a sudden there was an outlash from that. So there's the yin and the yang always. So we are the most progressive we've ever been as a human society. So there's also now the pushback from that. But as long as you are consciously aware of the fact that all you can do is be the best version of yourself, so then you can be the best mirror reflection onto other people, it eliminates the notion of control. And then you're able to then live in a very pleasant place. And all you're going to see in your day-to-day life is beauty. If you're living from a place of love, all you will ever see is love. Because that's how it works. We're projecting our reality as we're living it. So I think it's beautiful to kind of just live from that space and realize I know nothing, I control nothing. But that is amazing. That's why I'm here on this planet at this point in time, is to just observe all the beauty that there is.
I'm curious how all of this spirituality influences your work, because your work is very commercial, and you work with a lot of big brands and companies, which some might see as antithetical to spirituality.
If you're removing your spirituality from it, yeah. But I feel like the more, and I'm obviously the most in tune I've ever been, so I can't necessarily quote on my work that I used to do, because obviously I was driven from a place of fear of monetary achievement. So I wanted to, make money because I thought that's what equated to success. But even if you look at, I just posted a Tiffany video that I made today, even though I'm not in complete alignment of what Tiffany stands for and who they are, when they ask if I can make a video for them, it's the story first. I did a story about a daughter and a mother who, it's a flashback, and the mother gives the daughter earrings, and then you see her eyes swell up, and then what that moment meant to her, and it pulls out of a picture frame, and then it sees Alyssa sitting there. I kiss her on the head. I go and get those earrings, and by me giving those earrings to her, it allows her to re-feel what she felt. Like, it's not, this isn't what actually happened, but it allows her to feel what her mother gave her when she had earrings. So I'm still spreading the message of love and memories. It's just now I'm able to take it and contextualize it into a specific product, or what that message is trying to be. I've never, I don't diminish my values based on a company. And if they don't like what my message is, which is love and positivity and empowerment and magic and being able to think creatively, then I don't post it, or I don't work with them. So, if it's Bose, it's the same. Like when you put on the headphones and you turn on the music, your world transforms, and all of a sudden you're now outside and there's forests and you're able to explore, because that's what music does. When you put on headphones and you're walking down the street, why are you doing it? You're doing it in order to have escapism, in order for you to feel like that there's more to this day-to-day grind that you may be experiencing. So I always put myself and my creativity into everything that I do. More so, now I'm really focusing on original films and telling the true story that I've always wanted to tell, and that I like to tell. But like spirituality helps with my creativity. Jordan isn't creative. I'm a conduit for whatever higher message is coming through me. When a dancer's dancing, do you think they're thinking about the number that they need to do? Do you think they're like, 1, 2, 4, 5? As soon as you start thinking, there it goes. Your flow is gone. So it's the art of not thinking. When I'm editing, I'm not thinking. I'm flowing and I'm channeling. So the more in tune I am with the fact that I'm not here and I'm not controlling that process, I'm allowing myself to be a conduit for that, the greater my art gets. And I hopefully it's a reflection of that, and all the stuff that we're putting out in 2018 is just original messages and pieces of work that are going to live in a place that isn't controlled by big corporations and big companies. We're going to have it live on a space that is completely our own, and really spread the message of love and imagination and freedom and safety and empowerment, and allow people to be like, hey, you don't have to go on a YouTube or something and watch based on an algorithm a video that isn't aligned with how you're feeling. You know, we have a duty, a responsibility, especially people with followers, to be preaching a message of empowerment and love and equality to the people consuming, especially the younger generation now. If they're going to grow up thinking, oh my God, I crashed my Lamborghini as the title of a YouTube video, and all they want is to get a Lamborghini and drive it fast for no reason, what message is that? So being able to really be in tune with what you're saying, regardless if it gets views or not, that's very important. That's regardless of how commercial my stuff is. I just think it's more of the universe saying, hey, here's some monetary reward for you continuing to operate from a place of love, because I'm always putting my message of love and imagination into everything that I do, regardless of who it's for. So
yeah, it's absolutely something that I encourage all filmmakers and creatives to do, which isn't easy, but it's to turn your art and your passion into a business and to make money, because it doesn't matter how good you are at a specific skill. If you can't make money doing it, you're not going to be able to continue doing it.
I think it's the reverse. I think if you continue to make your art, money will come from it. If you're money focused, you're never going to be successful.
Yeah, I don't think that you need to be money focused, but you need to understand how to make a living from it, because I certainly know filmmakers that are more talented than me, that inspired me early on, that didn't know how to turn it into a business, and now they're working a 9-to-5 job.
They probably just don't trust themselves to put 100% of themselves into it. It just means that they're putting 20% of themselves into their filmmaking, and then being suppressed by thinking that they need to be working at a 9-to-5 job. If you quit your job and focus 100% on your attention on what you love to do, regardless of how much money you have, you will be successful, and I promise you that. It's taking the leap. It's taking the leap of faith. You have to do it. You're taking a leap of faith by paying to buy camera equipment that you may not be able to afford right now, and working and interviewing people that you think are spreading a good message, and you're operating from a heart space of that, then you will be rewarded for that. But the more you make decisions separate from I love to do this, the least successful you're going to be. And you may start to get some monetary success here and there because you are operating 50% out of love, but you're only going to get 50% reward back from that. And then you can go ahead and say, but what about people like Donald Trump that have millions of dollars that obviously aren't coming from a place of love? But then also try to think of what the definition of success is. Because if you think he's successful, then you have a very skewed perception of what life is. If you think living absolutely miserable, never seeing love before in your life, he's never seen love before in his entire life. His dad never loved him. He was never loved. He doesn't know what love looks like. And he's operating out of that space. So he has money and he has power, but what does he really have? He's going to be scared to die alone. He's going to be terrified of the life I know he doesn't like the life he's living. You could see it. So it's about learning that you have to live from a place of love. And if you live from a place of love, you will only experience love in your life. If you live from a place of fear, you're going to experience fear. So it's really about just committing to your art and your love and just putting 100% of yourself into it, because anything good I've ever gotten in my life is because regardless of what the outcome may be, I'm like, I know this feels good, so I'm gonna do it. And then luckily I've been blessed with success from it, and whenever regard that may be, if it's followers, money, working with companies or famous people or whatever you consider success. I just consider it like I get to make art with people that I love. That's the coolest thing there is. So I get to continue to do that every day because that's what I make my intention every day. I'm going to spread the message of love today through making videos or writing or speaking or whatever it may be. And then cool stuff comes from that.
What advice would you give to those people who find themselves stuck, that are pursuing their path, their art, and they're really struggling? And it's because there's a lot of people. I just talked to Brian Bowen Smith, who he's been a photographer for 20 years now. He's incredibly successful now, but for the first 10 years, it was struggle, and there was no money, there were no jobs. He was honing his skill and trying to figure out how to make his way into this. Yeah, and he did make it. But during those years when it's really tough, the money isn't coming, the love isn't coming, how do you get by? How do you get through?
Learn how to find love within yourself. That is, for some reason, that's taboo in society. But if you don't love yourself 100%, you are unable to love anything else 100%. That goes with everything. If you're in a romantic relationship with a partner, you can't give 100% love to that person. That relationship won't flourish if you don't have 100% love in yourself. So learning how to love yourself fully, and if you're not getting the success or whatever you think you're supposed to get from it, take a step back. Be like, why? Why don't I love myself? Why don't I feel love at night when I'm about to go to bed alone? Why don't I feel love? What's happening? Do I feel fear before I go to bed? What am I feeling? And just being really brutally in tune with yourself. Be like, oh, did my parents not love me fully? Do I want my parents' love? Like, why do I feel this like emptiness? Why do I feel this hollowness? What can fill that hollowness that is not superficial? Is it allowing myself to realize that I am a part of everything in this universe and we are all connected, and that is beautiful? And maybe I can go and meet some random person on the street and have an interaction that will really be substantial to my day, or maybe I can give something back to someone that really feels amazing. It just and that's why meditating really helped me, because it allowed me to remove my ego from my thoughts, because I am not my thoughts. And it allowed me to really become super clear and centered with who I am and say, okay, I am at the core, I am this. And of course I felt hollowness and emptiness, and I felt stuck in my creativity. We all go through that, but then realizing I am not that. I'm not going to feel that an hour from now. Why am I not going to feel that an hour from now? Because I see this sadness and I'm choosing to make it love. I'm choosing to be like, okay, I see this sadness, but the sadness is coming from something that is not me. I'm holding on to this emotion, but it's not me. So I'm going to choose to take this emotion and make it into love. And today I'm going to operate only from love. What do I love to do? I'm going to go in the sun today. I'm going to feel the sun on my face today. I'm going to feel the grass under my feet. I'm going to go in the ocean today. Nothing else matters. I'm going to do that today because I love that. And then all of a sudden your perspective completely changes. You go, what was I upset about? If you continue to think about the things that make you upset, you're going to be upset forever. We have the power to control our thoughts. Regardless of what we're like, oh, but I have to pay bills. You don't have to pay bills. Of course, there's repercussions that come from that, but if you allow yourself to remove yourself from thinking about paying bills and be like, today I'm just going to focus, or like right this second, I'm only going to focus on the things that make me happy, all of a sudden a path starts to appear, even if it's a tiny path. Being like, oh, wait, I just met someone that really feels right, and this is leading me in a direction that's leading in this direction. Just give yourself the time to really just feel absolute love for yourself. And we all know what we love. You could ask someone like, what do you want to do? And all of a sudden you're like, ugh. And it's because we're taught at such a young age that there's like things like you're a singer, you're an engineer, you're an actor. We take tests. You're in the 10th percentile. You're in the 4th. Don't believe that. It's like living in the Matrix. Unplug for the Matrix for like 2 seconds. Unplug yourself and be like, I know what I love. Because we know what the feeling of love feels like, and just tap into that feeling. Whether it's being in the sun, whether it's writing down your words, whether it's singing a song, it could be anything. It could be being a nurse. It could be helping other people. It could be literally anything in the world. It could be something that's not even invented yet. Just allow yourself to be like, this feels like love. I'm going to keep going in that direction. And once you give yourself the time to do that, your perspective changes immediately. So it's cool.
I want to talk about the craft of filmmaking. Your films are gorgeous.
Thank you.
And there was a progression to get there. I dove back into some of the archive, and I found your old Vimeo page and some of these old videos that you originally started out. It was nostalgic to me because it reminded me a lot of the kind of videos that I was making when I was getting started at college, and like playing around with visual effects and using Andrew Kramer's tutorials and really trying to delve into the craft and become better. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure at the time, early on, we both looked at our videos and were like, these are dope. Like right when you finish them, you're like, this is something that I'm proud of.
Hopefully
and I
you
want to
feel
show
that when you make something.
Yeah, a lot of times, like especially right when you finish it. And then a couple years go by and you look at it again and you're like, okay, like I've gotten better, like, and that's a good thing. And I think you should continually have these feelings where you look back at your old work and you're like, that represents
not too much.
It represents that time.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm not like, I wouldn't put that in my reel.
I mean, I'm proud of everything I've ever done because everything I've ever done has brought me to where I am now. Obviously, you progressively grow. I'd like to think that everyone's progressively growing if you allow yourself to progressively grow. But yeah, it's just really understanding all you can do is understand yourself better. So I was trying to channel and tell a story that I didn't know. When I'm 18, I didn't know myself. I didn't know the world. I didn't know, and I just didn't know anything. I thought I was trying so hard to think I knew everything. So my content and my creations were reflections of that. You can hopefully feel the heart there. You can feel the essence of what it is, which is like, I want to feel. Maybe I'm sad. Like, let's express why I'm sad, or I'm excited. Let's express why I'm excited. But now that I'm more in tune with why I'm feeling certain emotions or what my story is, I'm able to shape stories better. So I'm able to, I can tell a story in 7 shots. I can tell a story in 1 shot with the right music and, working. Now everything I do is I work with an amazing composer who lives in Australia. His name is Tristan Barden. He creates custom music. We create it together for each piece that we make because we want to we align ourselves with what the story is, and we're working in unison to be able to tell a story. And I have an amazing visual effects artist. His name's Igor. He lives in Brazil, and we work together in order to sit there and be like, oh man, wouldn't it be amazing if we're laying on the bed and when we look up at the ceiling, all of a sudden it's the stars, and then it tilts down from the stars, and I go to take a step, but all of a sudden the floor is now water, and just allowing our imagination just to be like, this is what I feel, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm channeling, and then working with like-minded people, because no one person can do it themselves. So aligning yourself with the right people and just not being afraid to just tell the story. And also, once you're not afraid of your own emotions, you're not afraid to do anything anymore. I don't know what fear is. I don't know what death is. Death is life. I don't know what any of these notions are. So all I know is love. So I just continue to channel love, and then I get to work with other people that feel the same way, and then my craft grows from that because I'm growing. So it just, everything's a progression. So allowing yourself to realize what no longer fully serves you in your higher consciousness, and then you can then move away from that and then move into something that's bigger and better. So
you've built a team now. When you were first starting out, was it pretty solo? Was this kind of like
yeah, very solo. I mean, even when I was with Usher, I had never taken a photography course. I didn't know what photography, I mean, obviously I knew what photography was, but I bought the Canon 7D, and I was like, loved the videos that I saw that were being made with that camera. And then, so I got it for video. And then I remember day one working with him, he was like, it'd be awesome to have some photos as well from this performance. Can we get some photos? And I nodded, and I was just like, yeah, of course. And then I was like, I'll figure it out. And then I just figured out that the shutter speed needed to be this in order for it to not be blurry. And then I didn't like when the f-stop was too high because I really liked the shallow depth of field. And then I didn't like when the white balance was too cool. And then I figured out how to color it to really convey the message. And then you just figure out how to channel it better. And that's another reason why I feel like I've amassed a level of success in some fashion, is because I'm always been a student. I love learning. So I wanted to learn how to shoot everything myself, and then how to edit everything myself, and then how to write everything myself, and then how to edit the music all myself, and how to add the sound effects all myself. So I did everything myself. And then at a certain point, you're like, this can only take me so far, because how can one person do all of this? And why would I want to do it all by myself? So then being able to be like, you're amazing at making music. Would you want to make some music for this? Absolutely. I love what you're doing. Awesome. Let's do it together. You're amazing at doing visual effects. Would you like to do this together? Absolutely. Dude, I love your eye behind the camera. I think I'd be really good acting in the scene because I understand what the story is for this. Yeah, let's do it. And then all of a sudden you're just working with amazing people, and then you all get to learn from each other. You get to be like, oh, I like the way that you saw that shot. That's awesome. What if we did that? And then it's all like, and that's what life is, isn't it? Hopefully you're just spending your time with people that are on the same wavelength as you, and you get to just experience all of that together. And then when you get to do it creatively, it's even bigger of a blessing, I think, because then you get to really be in tune and channel something higher together. So that's why when jazz bands are performing together, you see like an orchestra, which is another art that isn't flourishing anymore in terms of like commercial aspect, which is a shame. Like being able to, when these orchestras go and perform together, a lot of the times they haven't met each other. It's the first time them ever seeing the music. All of a sudden a composer goes up there and goes, and then in perfect unison on the first, they're just channeling all. It's an art. It's amazing. It's connection. So being able to just really do that, and then in every aspect of your life, every conversation you have, every person you spend time with, and it opens you up.
You said when you were in high school, that's when you realized that you loved film and you really wanted to get into it and pursue it. Mm-hmm. But when did you actually realize that this is something that was possible to do full time, that you could actually make money doing it?
High school.
Yeah, that's when. Is that when you got paid for the first time to make videos?
I shot my history teacher's wedding and got paid $600, and I was like, whoa. And for me that was so strange too, because it's your teacher. So like you're, as a kid, you already have this like preconceived like concept and like social construct of what it means for like a student teacher. I'm like, oh, I'm watching them like have fun and dance and all this, and that broke down so many barriers too. I was like, whoa, they're us. This is me, just maybe older. And then I got to do that, and then I made all the highlight tapes for our school sports teams, and then for other sports teams around the area, and I got paid to do that. And then I was making highlight reels for different athletes that were applying for colleges, because I liked watching Friday Night Lights, the movie, and all of a sudden I just like took these things that I liked and I was able to resonate with and be like, oh, I can do that for you, but with like my own kind of spin on it. You know, I can do this highlight reel, but like, what if we show like what you're like as a person, and like add certain music to it? And then, so I was, literally since I walked into high school, freshman year, took a video production class, and they taught me Adobe Premiere Pro. And I was like, whoa, I have the tools to do this myself. Never the same since. And that's all I've really focused on ever. I, of course, like studied other things in school. You take gen eds and you take courses that give you a more versatile outlook on life, like economics and science. But like all of these things just apply to each other anyway. Like I'm talking about physics, and like I read Neil deGrasse Tyson's Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, because that tells you who we are in context to everything else. So like continue to learn about everything. You know, I love to know about how the molecular structure of our body makes up, and how we have equal amount of water, and how we are water as well, and how what's happening at a subatomic level, and then what happens when the planets start to align, and in December what's happening when Mercury retrograde, and just being a master of our environment. I'm only Jordan in this body right now, so I want to know as much as I can about everything, and then take the tools that feel really good to me and being able to apply that. And then it comes into my videos as well. I love incorporating space into every video that I do. There's going to be stars, there's going to be planets, there's going to be everything, because we live on Earth, which is in the Milky Way galaxy, which is part of a larger galaxy, which is part of a bigger universe, which is like, we humans think that we are the greatest thing that's ever happened. But do you think an ant has an idea of a construct of what humans are? Why do we think that we are it? There is something bigger than us, obviously, that we're a part of. So allow ourselves to humble ourselves, because once you humble yourself and you remove your ego, you can then really start to soak and enjoy all of the beauty that there is to offer that's happening. So, yeah.
I think you were given an amazing gift in high school to stumble into that video class, because
I manifested it.
Sure. There's a right time for that to happen. I mean, you think about like classrooms and video production classes to that degree where you could have your own editing system. I remember when I started editing, my editing teacher in high school showed us the way they used to cut, and like with the actual, it was like the linear editing software. So you had to just literally cut and splice in the moment. And it was like one project, I think it was on VHS tape, that we had to actually try that out. And it's very limiting, very difficult to create content. Obviously, people have done that for decades.
Yeah.
But still very challenging. And then this opens up and we can start to learn these tools. And then, maybe 5 years prior, that video class didn't exist.
Yeah, it keeps changing.
So,
or even like James Cameron takes 10 years to make a film. Why? Because he wants to... The technology doesn't exist yet. When he made Avatar, that technology didn't exist. He worked with a team that figured out the best way to do motion capture in order for that exact image to come out the way he wants it to do it. So we actively manifest and create our universe simultaneously in the now. So yeah, it was amazing that I got that tool, but whether I got it in high school or now, I think I'd still be doing the same thing. It's just about allowing your notion of time not to be a barrier or to limit you what you're doing. You could be 45 years old and be like, I want to be a singer. Why have I never sung my entire... And then you can be a singer. Why not?
Yeah. I think, I completely agree. Like, don't get caught up on the tools. I think more so what I was trying to get to was the fact that you got to start early. I mean, you don't, like you said, you can start at 45 if you want, but to be able to put in the time into a craft and really be able to develop your style and the way that you work, and also your ideas and the craft itself. So you've been doing this for a very long time now, and it obviously shows from first video to last.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but what is the notion of time? Like a long time. So like I've been doing it for 15 years or something like that. What does that mean in the grand scheme of life? Do you know what I mean? Like 15 years, what does that equate to? So yeah, that's a long time maybe compared to someone else who's been doing it for 6 years, but that's a very little time compared to someone who's done it for 4. So like stop the notion of comparing, because that instantaneously starts to put you into like... So what I try to do always is never judge. And what judging is not labeling, not comparing. So don't compare, because there's no point of comparing, because we are all operating on a different frequency, doing different things. So just allow yourself to only be focused on you and your love and your betterment. Because if I were to sit here and be like, well, I've been doing it for 15 years, that's a long time, then all of a sudden I may feel like that's too long of a time. Like, like I've been 15, it's not enough time. And then all of a sudden I start to try to do even more. And it's like, relax. Your pace is your pace, as long as you are operating from a feeling of love that you want to operate from. And then everything else within that universe doesn't really matter. Time doesn't matter. There's no such thing as time. What is time? When the sun goes up on Earth, when the planet rotates around the sun one time on its axis, like what is it? Humans created the notion of time in order to fit, to have understanding of our place in the universe. There is none. Our souls don't know the notion of time. Light doesn't know the notion of time. Time is different on different gravitational fields. If you go towards a black hole, you age differently than you do on this planet near the sun. So remove anything that tries to label or limit or compare anything in your life, because there's literally no such things as that.
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I don't live in that world. I live in a world where I label things, and I don't think that it affects me negatively. I think that I do have to be mindful and aware of when I'm being overly critical of myself. But I do think that I can look at a video that I've made and say, that is a good video, and look at a video I made 10 years ago and be like, that one is not so good, or I like this one better. I mean, and I agree, comparisons can be harmful, especially when we're comparing ourselves to other people.
Or comparing other people to other people. Like
right, but if you're watching
Netflix,
you know the stuff you like, so you're not just going to turn on the TV and watch anything and be like, well, it's all relative.
But leave it at that then. Be like, I like this.
Yeah. Okay.
That could be the end of it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think it does become harmful, and that's something I've struggled with too, because I'm like, I want to talk about this film and what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it, maybe what I would do differently. But a lot of times when we get into that mindset, we like have this language of being completely definitive. Like, this is the way it is, as opposed to, no, 1,000 people could watch that and have completely different outlooks.
Or just anytime you put energy into anything other than positivity, why? You know, you can maybe like, I like this, and maybe you didn't like something else, but then why dive into why you didn't like it for too long? Because then all of a sudden you're putting your energy into something that's negative. For what reason?
What about if it's positive, though? What if it's talking about the joy and the love that's in
It's
there?
amazing, but then take it and apply it to yourself. Be like, I like this. I'm going to do something like this. Mm-hmm. Then that's just such a quicker, more natural transition into something that's bettering you. So then just be like, I like this. I know this feels good. But too much consumption of anything isn't good. You know, if I was sitting on the couch watching every movie I've ever loved always, where am I taking the energy to channel something for me, or to apply it to myself? So that's why it's like I'm aware of the time that I'm applying to myself, and then I'm aware of the time that I'm allowing myself to consume things, but for what purpose and for what reason. But yeah, I guess just knowing what you like is the strongest tool you could possibly have, and then allowing yourself never to focus on anything negative, because you have the choice to where you put your energy. So only on positive things. And if you find yourself thinking about something that isn't positive, stop yourself and be like, why am I thinking about something not positive? How do I remove myself about thinking about something that's only positive? And then continue to operate from there. And then all of a sudden time will completely change to you. You know, the stuff that you can get done in a day is going to be much more vast than you ever thought. You might meet someone you end up spending the rest of your life, whatever that means, the rest of your life with, or you may end up having a conversation with someone that leads you down a completely different path, or you may end up working or stumbling upon something that is you never would have expected, but you just have to allow yourself to be like, I'm only going to take my energy onto something positive today, because you already know what you like. If you're putting it towards something you don't like, or trying to figure out why you don't like it, then all of a sudden you're going the wrong way. And then all of a sudden the universe will be like, focus on the stuff that you like, because it's serving you better. In
a lot of ways, doesn't like the postmodern notion of dropping labels and dropping definitions, doesn't it make it a little bit more challenging and difficult to over communicate all these things and say, like, well, what does that actually mean? But like, we know what it means. We do know what a day means. It's 24 hours. And like, obviously we can try to drop the notion of what a day and time is. But
you just don't have to think about or talk about it. Like the time we're spending talking about it right now, how is it serving us?
Well, but in our everyday life, we use these definitions and we use these words.
You may.
Yeah, but okay, you don't. But then I think 99% of the population may not be enlightened, and they.
Well, that's why we have conversations like this, so that way we can enlighten them, so that way they are aware of the fact that you don't have to have a preconceived notion of what a day is. If you feel like staying up all night working on a video, you can stay up all night working on a video.
But I don't think you can't not know what a day is. Like, now that you know what a day is, I'm
aware of what a day is. Am I choosing to focus my attention on thinking about what a day is? No, but
if I say, what did you do today? You would know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're asking.
But then would that upset you? Like the fact that I'm using definitions and...
No, but I feel like you're trying to get a specific answer out of me right now, but I don't need to talk about what that is. Because if you can ask me how was your day? I know you're basically saying, how are you feeling? And I can answer you appropriately. But I'm not going to spend my time then thinking about what a day is, because why would I do that?
Well, I don't think we do.
Well, that's what you're trying to do.
Well, now we are. Now we're getting like over analytical about the definitions. But
yeah.
I think it's just... That's, I think, the difficult thing to navigate is the spiritual world.
You're aware of the fact that it's difficult for you. That's why you keep bringing it up. So just start practicing it more.
Well, I don't think it's difficult for me to like use the word day and like my concept of time. I think what's difficult for people is practically bringing spirituality and mindfulness into their life without it.
Another thing that helps is stop talking about. Don't be like, what's difficult for other people? Like, we can't control other people. So let's start talking about ourselves, being like, what's difficult for me is, and then you can start applying it to only yourself, because all you could ever do is affect yourself, and then when you affect yourself, you allow yourself to then project that onto other people, and you allow yourself to then be a mirror for that for other people. I don't try to control anybody. I'm fully aware of my surroundings, but I am also very in tune with who I am and what I hold dear and what is my essential core and nature of who I am. So that way every interaction that I have, I'm literally just a mirror. So nothing affects me. So if you're going to have a conversation about something that you want to have a conversation about, that's absolutely fine. I know that that no longer has to do with me. I can just be the best mirror of me possible, and then hopefully project it onto somebody else, and they could be like, oh, I felt something from that. But trying to like change someone, or being like, everybody perceives time in the wrong way. How do I make them perceive time differently? Now you're taking all of your energy and focusing it not on yourself, and you can't change anybody else. And now all of a sudden you're a battery that was once at 100%, and now you're drained to 40, putting it towards something that has nothing to do with you. So put all of the energy into yourself, allow yourself to be at 100%, so that way you can then be the best beacon of light that we could possibly be for other people to see. And if they are ready to see it and they're ready to absorb it, blessings. If they aren't able to, maybe then it can then evoke something within them to try to go and understand something differently. But all we could ever change is ourselves.
Yeah, that's one thing I could definitely agree with you on is the focus, and how limited our focus is, and how important it is to focus on really what you want to accomplish in life, because we're filled in a world of distractions right now, right? There's so many different things that are pulling at our attention. People that want this email respond, people that want you to reply to their tweet. How do you navigate the world and say online distractions, and have a clear head, and also be able to create at a high level?
I know what I like, and I consume what I like. That's all I can say. When I'm on the internet, I know what I like to consume, and if it's something I don't like to consume, I don't consume it. There are no distractions.
You don't have any rules where you're like, all right, I'm not going to check email before 10 a.m.
No.
Do you have bad habits where like you'll wake up and you'll check your phone first thing, or do you
Well,
not?
what's a bad habit? Why are you naming something a bad habit?
I would name that a bad habit because then the phone and the applications and the notifications start to control you.
But there's good things about all of those things as well. Stop thinking, if you're labeling something bad, you're automatically creating something negative in your life. Stop thinking there's bad. I don't think there's bad, ever.
Well, what about, I mean, maybe I'm going to the extreme here, but I think it's helpful sometimes to illustrate it. There are bad, like being a drug addict.
Why is that bad?
Because it could kill you, it could ruin your family, it could destroy your life.
Okay, but why are they a drug habit? Why are they a drug addict? Why are they?
Well, but
why are they turning to? There's big. I understand what you're trying to ask, but having a drug addiction means you're masking something. Figuring out why you're masking something can be the biggest blessing there is. Mm-hmm. So why do you drink coffee? Is that an addiction?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I love it. I love the taste.
But is it bad? Is it bad that you're addicted to coffee?
No, but I mean, if this was meth in front of us, then I would say that's probably not appropriate.
But you're also comparing. You don't have to compare it. Like some people like their coffee, some people like their alcohol, some people like their shopping, some people like their sex, some people like their marijuana. But why would you even focus on any of that? It has nothing to do with you. All I know is if I get into an interaction with someone who has an addiction, I have many friends and family members that everyone has an addiction. All you can possibly do again is just be the best version of yourself, so that way when they are drinking alcohol or they are doing heroin or whatever is happening, you can be like, do you see how in tune I am? Can I be a beacon of light for you? What are you masking? And maybe that can then give them the revelation that they need in order to fix themselves. Because all that could ever happen is they want to fix. Step one with an addiction is what? Acknowledge you have an addiction. You have to acknowledge you have an addiction, and then from there you are able to then proceed accordingly and be like, okay, I have an addiction. Why do I have an addiction? How do I fix this addiction? Addictions aren't bad. Everyone has a form of an addiction. So allowing yourself to say, what am I truly masking? Being on the phone is an addiction. Checking your email is an addiction. Not being in your current thought process or being fully in tune with yourself is a form of addiction. We have distractions now. Distractions are control mechanisms. That's fine. But all we could ever do is just be fully aware of ourselves. If you know that you don't like waking up first thing in the morning and checking your email, Don't wake up first thing in the morning. And if it helps you by setting rules, then do that. But then know that your rule is an addiction. So just keep weaning yourself off of these things, and know that you can then eventually reach the point where you are just the self-observer of everything, and you're operating from a place of love, and you are no longer making decisions out of intentions you don't know why. I know when I turn on my phone, I know why I'm looking at my phone. And I enjoy while I'm on it. If I'm doing anything that I don't enjoy, I take a step back and go, why am I doing something I don't enjoy right now? Is it a stress? Am I feeling forced from an outside force? Do I feel like I have an outside force pressing in on me, making me feel like I need to answer this email right now because I have a deadline? I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna go in the sun. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna clear my thoughts. But give your time to digest, because we're talking about a lot of stuff here too that I know that you are like actively in the process of trying to like implicate into yourself right now. So taking the time to be like, I don't need to fully digest it right this second, because that's a lot. So to be like, I am just going to allow it to simmer, and then, maybe see how it makes me feel. And then you can I think
it's a continuous process. It ebbs and wanes, and something specifically like the social media stuff, it's helpful for me. Like, I think we just define it in different ways. Like, you notice when something doesn't feel right, and then you can take a step back and observe what's happening and why you're making the decisions that you're making. For me, I personally see that I do the same thing, and maybe I call it a negative thing. I say, like, I have this addiction to this phone or to these notifications, and I want to be more mindful, and I want to actually practice some like being very aware of when I'm on my phone. So me personally, I take a little bit of I'll set some rules, like no phones in the bed at night, or lately it's been no checking emails in the morning, or maybe batching emails, because I mean,
whatever feels right to you.
Right, there's practical things where if you're checking email 100 times a day, you are going to be distracting yourself from the work that you're meant to be creating. Most people aren't creating their work within their inbox. So if I could figure out a way to be more mindful and say, all right, I'm only going to check email once a day or twice a day, I think it's going to make my life a little bit more productive, and I'm going to be able to create the art I want to create when I want to create.
Well, that works for you, so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
If it works for you, it works for you. Mm-hmm. That's all we could ever do.
I mean, I envy you, and
why? But that's a negative word within itself.
I don't think so. I envy somebody who doesn't have to. I'm not saying in this term that I want to be you, but I envy the position.
But rather than envying someone, being like, those are qualities that I like. How do I implement it into my life that best serves me?
Yeah, but I think it's also, I like it. I envy it for you. I think it's cool for you, but I respect that it works for you, but I also know that it's not going to work for me, and that's not something I would want to bring into my life.
But that's the definition of envy, isn't it?
Yeah, right. I think I was just using a loose definition of envy.
Sure.
Yeah, man. So I'm curious about like the art now, because you were saying that you were pushing yourself more and more into the art space. Like, what does that mean for you? Are you looking to make feature documentaries? Or are you trying to
everything?
Yeah.
I don't label. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna keep making my story until my human body can't make stories anymore. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's it. Just writing every day, creating every day, and continuing to operate from that space until I physically can't do it in this realm anymore. So yeah, and I'm excited for people to see it. Mm-hmm. So they'll know when it's out. It'll be on my social media, and I'll make announcements about it and all that fun stuff.
Is this something in the works now that that's special to you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Making a movie right now.
Oh yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
When'd you start it?
It's been started.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And this is something that you're keeping on the low for now?
When it's out, it's out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't live too future forward, so I'm just actively working on it, and then as soon as it's in a place that it's done and ready, then people will see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the spark that got you wanting to pursue your own art? Like, when was there a switch when you were like, because you do the commercial stuff, you still continue to do it. Mm-hmm. Was there a spark that pushed you into it?
No, just continuing to move from what feels good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I make decisions off of what feels good. So I just know what feels the best for me right now is working on myself and working on things that I can truly put my heart and soul into. So that's what I'm doing.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. You want to get to quick questions?
Sure. There's quick questions.
Quick questions,
Nice.
not necessarily quick answers. So feel
Sure.
free to elaborate.
Awesome.
But as you know, the podcast it's really trying to help people who are just getting started out get their footing and figure out
Sure.
the right direction to head.
Okay.
So some of these are designed in that way.
Sure.
So what book has had the biggest impact on your life?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
You can name a couple if you want.
How to Sit. There's a book by a Zen master called How to Sit, and it explains what sitting is and how you could actually enjoy sitting. It's essentially the art of meditation, but being able to be still with your own thoughts and not be scared of them. It's a great book. It's an easy read.
Do you meditate every day?
I live in a state of meditation. Yeah, I practice. I used to practice meditation every day. I'll still meditate if I feel as if I am not clear with what's the current moment. But yeah, I live in a state of meditation.
When are you happiest?
Always.
Good answer.
That's all I know. Yeah.
What skill have you leveraged in a way that you think others haven't?
The art of the art of being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the simplest advice that's the most important to follow?
Know what you love, know what love feels like, and operate from that space.
2 more questions.
Mm-hmm.
One thing people should read, watch, or listen to before they go to bed tonight. Not immediately before bed, but before the day ends, in my definition of the day.
I recently watched on Netflix, Sense8 is a really good TV show that I enjoyed watching. And then Okja on Netflix is really good too. But then before I go to bed, I meditate. So I guess getting in tune with what you're feeling. I don't think it's good for anybody to be consumed with a lot of distractions before they go to sleep, because then you're defeating the purpose of sleep, and then you're good. Because sleep is no different to meditating. If you wanted to, you could be aware of your dreams. So allow yourself to be really in tune with how you're feeling before you go to sleep, because if someone has a nightmare, it's your subconscious trying to work out something that you didn't get to process that day. So allow yourself to really be in tune with how you're feeling that day and what your thoughts are, because it's important.
And if people want to see your work online or connect with you, where's the best place to go?
I'm on every form of social media, and my handle's at TaylorCutFilms, or my website, TaylorCutFilms.com. So.
Cool, man. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And that's the show for today. Thanks for listening. If you like this podcast and you want to support it, as many of you know, this show is advertisement free. Why? Because I hate money. I just hate it. I don't want your money. Well, not necessarily true. I don't want advertisers' money. I'm trying to create the show with integrity, trying to do it a little bit differently. But that means I'm going to have to try to grow this podcast a little bit more, come up with some creative ways to monetize and make money from it. That stuff will be coming down the pipeline later this year. But in the meantime, as we grow this podcast together, I ask you do one small favor. Head over to iTunes and leave a quick rating. Ratings show up on iTunes. It really helps to encourage and push people who otherwise might not get access to the show or may not want to click play on that first episode. It really helps to inspire and motivate others to watch. So if you like it, do me a favor. Leave a rating. Leave a review. Also, I have never asked for this before, but I assume people just do it intuitively. I don't need to say it. But if this is like your first time listening to the podcast and you like this episode, or you think you like me and you might want to listen to what I have to say, subscribe to the Ground Up Show on whatever podcast app you use. It's really quick and easy to do, and every app, if you listen to podcasts, you know what I'm talking about. Subscribe, and then you'll get these episodes instantly in your feed. If you need the links, go to groundupshow.com. I've got links for iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Spotify. So check that out, and we'll have some good times together. The next 3 episodes are incredible. That's right. I've recorded a bunch and I've got a nice little back catalog. These are definitely the best podcasts I've done, talking with filmmaker, photographer, and one other special guest that I'm not going to mention. But really exciting. So subscribe and you will get those. Thanks for listening and see you next time.